Hello friends. So I just wanted to show you where we're at currently with our storage for our materials that we've been gathering the whole time. This is the 4th day of spring. I'm going to split this walkthrough into the 4th of spring and the beginning of the 5th of spring, because that's the end of the tutorial, and then the next walkthrough will be the first day that we're going to be accountable for our stamina and for time. So as you can see, our turnips have finally come in on day 4. Now we're going to, after we pick these, it'll open up shipping. We're not going to actually ship our turnips. We're going to save those because we can use them as a half a heart for energy increase. We can use them to feed animals we want to tame once we've attained a barn. And they're not worth a whole lot. So at least without having a good recipe in it this time, we don't have any recipes worthwhile. So we're just going to clean up our farm plot here, and I'm going to go ahead and till the unused portion. We're going to convert this into a flower bed. So for attaining progression in Lechtenbury, we need to have 12 flowers total, 6 flowers of 2 different types for the first part of it, and then we need 30 flowers, 10 of 3 different types of flowers for the second half to unlock Lechtenbury Village for all of its reputation. So we're going to move our produce to a new farmland once we've opened up the map a little bit and can find one that's convenient. Right now, before we talk to everybody, I'm just going to run through and grab our mushrooms. We're going to grab the one going into town, the one behind the restaurant. Now, if you remember yesterday, we just picked up all those flowers and all of the clams, so they're not going to have respawn over this direction. On a normal day, if I was doing a forage run, I would head over to the waterfall, get the flowers, head over there, get the mushrooms, head over to the beach, get the clams, and then up on this hill would be 2 more mushrooms. But those haven't had a chance to grow back yet, so we're just going to head over towards the cave. And we're going to pick up our 1 shiitake mushroom, our 1 bamboo shoot, and then over this way there's 2 more shiitake mushrooms in 2 different areas, and it'll bring us back to the village. After our run around, we can peek into the different houses to make sure we get our reputation bonuses with anybody that's home. There's all the shops are going to be open because it's 8 a.m. There's going to be several people that we can talk to before we kick off the scenarios and the cutscenes. And you can see Doc is not at home because there's no smoke coming out of his chimney. It's not 100% correct. Sometimes you will have smoke coming out of a chimney, but you still can't enter a house. So just be aware that that can be misleading. So we're going to keep these turnips, and you'll see why in a little bit, but we'll put everything else back. You could see that we've got plenty of food that we can take with us right now if we were allowed to go deeper in the mine. we're going to take these pink roses with us as well. And I think before I forget, I'm going to just take a stack of this stone and go ship it. The shipping is important to increase the reputation of the town. We've had very small bumps in the reputation just from being able to speak to people, progress the storyline. The normal bump with just doing that would only bring us to a full half star rather than probably 2/5. But shipping tends to give us an even bigger bump. So if we do everything we have been doing plus shipping, we should see a large increase tomorrow morning for our reputation here for Lechtonbury. Now for each full star that we increase when we open up another star, we will progress the town and we get new and better recipes at the restaurant, food at the restaurant. Eventually the flower shop will open. We'll get seeds. And by the way, I haven't seen another flower shop. I think that's the only one that's specifically a flower shop. So the general store will get increases. The animal will get increases, or the animal shop, I should say. And Doc Jr. will offer additional processing options. So I'm going to talk to Judy just so that I don't forget to talk to her outside of the request requirements. But we are going to have to hunt her down again today. I almost forgot the kids this morning. Or maybe I already did talk to the kids. Oh, maybe I need some more caffeine. I have not had my coffee today, and you can tell. So here's an example where it's a little misleading. So there's smoke coming out of that chimney, but you cannot enter that house. Now, I've tried to get Doc Jr. before that just to get my increase, but it won't let you interact with him. I don't know why it won't let you just talk to him to get your relationship increased, but I suspect it's because today is the first day that you can start to get things processed. And so we will go and take a look at Doc Jr. in his home to see what his 0 level offers for materials are. In this walkthrough, we've seen what the 0-star offer is for the general store. We can't see what offers are for the animals until we get a barn, which will, just through clearing out the requests, put us at 1 star, so I don't know if there's a way to see that at a 0 star. And then we have seen several times the options at the restaurant for the star. And I just want to make sure that I talk to Neil again because we didn't get a reputation increase for that. Now, we're still running around with nothing in our pockets. We have no money in our pockets. And that's because we've been saving it. We don't want to sell it at a shop because we need the reputation bump. So we're keeping our stuff that we're going to sell and selling it in the shipping bin. But even though we cannot afford to have him ship or process any items, let's take a look at what Doc Jr. has that he can process that we may want. So here's material stone. It's a wash to make it because you get 2 gold for 1 raw stone. You get 3 gold for a material stone, but it costs 1 gold to turn it into, to get it processed into a material stone. That's why we're just shipping that stack of stone without getting it processed first. The iron ore, we've got several of that we may want to get processed. That one does increase quite a bit more than the 5 coins. But we'll hang on to it for right now just to see what we're going to need to repair and rebuild the village. The bronze, we've got 5, I believe, of those. Also increases quite a bit in the worth, but it's also much more valuable as a utility because a lot of people will request it, and it'll eventually be necessary to upgrade our tools. We have yet to see any of these silver, gold, glass, agate, amethyst, or garnets. Now, you can see by the cost of the processing just for the amethyst and the garnet that it is quite cost prohibitive at this point. But once we get down deep enough that we can get these processed, the cut gems actually sell for a good amount of money, and that's probably where we're going to get the bulk of our money if we're not going to spend a lot of time fishing. Now, I don't mind, for the sake of the walkthrough, showing how the fishing can be used to reliably increase money, but this is an alternate for anybody that just absolutely hates fishing. You can just get yourself down far enough in each mine to get these more valuable gems and get them cut and sell them. Now, agates are going to be all over the place. You're going to have pockets full of them when you get out of there. So you can get them processed and you can sell them. They are going to be okay money, but not great. But that's still, just from the sheer quantity, going to be helpful when you're trying to build up your fortunes if you don't like fishing. So that's the 0-star offerings that Doc Jr. has, and even if we had the money to process our stuff to maybe sell a few of them, I would still probably wait an extra day just for the shipping to go through, and so that we have a bigger buffer of money before we start spending it. So now that we have all the ingredients, we will go back to the restaurant. It always makes me sad to see this building like this, but luckily it's not going to stay that way much longer. My A didn't want to hit. Sorry about the delay there. So we will just pass in all of these. And I do want to let you know, the milk is only worth a half a heart to drink it. Not that we would want to do that, because we need it to make this stew. Now, this is going to be a very short day when it comes to the walkthroughs, because there's nothing to gather, there's nothing that we need to cut down or break apart. So it's mostly going to be progressing the storyline today, doing a little bit of shipping, and then a lot of explanation for some of the things that open up, like Doc Jr.'s. We also now have our own kitchen installed in our house. I will show you that just before we head in for bed. I think one reason why I've always liked Neil so much is that I also like to cook. I like to take a recipe and see if I can make it myself, or improve on it, or make it healthier. but not change the taste too bad. That's important because kids are difficult to get to eat healthy food, so you gotta get creative in including it in dishes so that they don't know they're eating things that are good for them. I don't think I could get my kids to try turnip stew. This is our first known recipe, but if we were to check out our kitchen before the cutscene, we do have a few starter recipes. He did give us some wheat that we can cook with. There's only one thing that we can make, which will be useful later, but we don't need it right now. I'll show you how we can cook with it. We'll make the one thing that we have the things for, or all of the items for, but I'm going to show you a couple of things about cooking before we actually make it. But even though we're going to be able to make a few items today, we're going to save them. We're not going to use them in the mine because they're useful to unlock the village. And that's one reason why we're sticking with the raw ingredients for this first delve into the mines once it unlocks. Now, if there's anything at this point that we have left undone, any trees you need to chop, any rocks you need to break, anything that you need to do to clear up before the end of the day, this is the last time you can do it before it's going to basically just send you to bed. We have already gotten everything done, so we'll go ahead and trigger this cutscene. One of Ver's very favorite things is going to be turnips. So you don't have to actually try to make it into a recipe to give it to him. If you want to increase your friendship with Ver, you can just hand him a raw turnip. Now, leaving the town through this opening is what triggers the passage of time and the use of stamina. So that's what really starts the game. So for the sake of trying to pad our resources before we leave the town, we're going to give this opening quite a wide berth. We don't want to get caught into a cutscene before we're ready, since tomorrow we will have some things we will need to gather before we leave and before we're responsible for our time and our effort. So they call these guys wisps, but they look like little sprites to me. I think they are about the same size if you count the hat. And now we finally unlocked the map here. So let's go ahead and gather our first seeds. And this is going to be how we harvest free seeds and how we get new types of seeds that we've never seen before without having to slog through increasing reputation points with every town to unlock all of the seeds that they offer. Now, we could not leave when it said to go talk to the sprite. Anytime you would take a step away, it would warp you back and say, I need to talk to the wisp. All right, let's go through a little bit of a cooking tutorial. This will be a very basic one. When I'm ready to do a much more advanced one, it will be on my playthrough that has a clear with all kinds of ingredients we can use. But for the sake of this, let's put everything. I'm going to put 2 away, and we'll keep 1 in my pockets just so I can show you how this works. Now, because we are turning our field into a flower garden rather than produce, we're putting these turnips away for right now. And you can see we're now down 1 stack of stone, but don't worry, the stone is going to be anything that we gathered on the first day of breaking those stones will be repopulated tomorrow, so we'll do that before we trigger the time. So you just click on the burners, and each plus sign means a different burner, so you can create up to 2 different meals at a time. Here's our beginning recipes. The baguette is the one Neil gave us, and this is the one we have all the ingredients to, but if you see, it is grayed out just like all the rest of the recipes. However, there is a little swap icon, being the 2 arrows pointing to each other in a circle, meaning that we can make this by swapping out ingredients. So if you click on it, it'll take you down to the ingredient list, and this one single wheat is the one that's in my backpack. So let's click on the grayed out wheat, and we can now reach our storage where the fridge was. So don't feel bad that you have to try to figure out what is in your fridge to cook with, because you can just click on the recipe you want to make and then specify that you want to use your storage instead of your bag for items. Also, if we had any hybrids that would still be allowable for us to make a baguette out of, maybe a different type of wheat, they would show up in either our bag or storage underneath the wheat. And the nice thing is you can see how many you have left, so you don't have to fiddle with your inventory. You can quickly choose what you need. Here's a big tip for you. This is very useful when you start getting fish recipes. There's some fish recipes that are required to unlock some festivals, and you do not need to use the same fish it recommends. You can use allowable fish that are either equal size, or for like a tuna dish, you could use the yellowfin tuna. It doesn't have to be just a tuna, though the yellowfin tuna is worth a lot more, so it's up to you if you want to do it. It just depends on how much you want to get your recipe done. But let's take a look at a couple of things with each recipe. So here's the baguette. We're going to look on the right hand side. It's worth 1 energy point to eat. The baguette, if above it you see the little bag and the little box, that tells you if you have any baguettes in your backpack or in your storage. The hourglass tells you how much in-game time it takes. It'll take 30 in-game minutes to make baguettes. The more often you cook, the faster that cooking time would lower. So let's take a look at stew. So stew takes 2 hours, but if we made enough stew, we could get that time to cut down so it's not quite taking quite so long. However, there's a few more icons on this one than we had with the baguettes. First, it's worth 2 hearts, and you've got that little flame icon. So what that means is if you eat this stew, you will have 1 in-game hour of protection against cold. So when you need to go to a cold area, you want to make sure you have the flame icon status, so that you don't have additional stamina taken away. However, there's also, which you cannot see in our list, this icon up at the top that I have now selected. That is supposed to be an ice crystal. When you're in a hot area and you need to have protection against the heat, you want to cook something that has that ice crystal where this flame shows up here, it will have an ice crystal plus an amount of time, and that's what you'll want to take with you when you go into the hot areas. Now, the stew is not one you'll want to make unless you're just trying to get the achievement, and let me break it down why. First, if you look at the list of ingredients, you've got 2 carrots, 2 potatoes, and 1 milk. Well, if you were to eat each of these items as a raw ingredient without cooking it into anything, each of these ingredients are 1/2 a heart. So already you're at 2.5 hearts if you were just to eat them separately. So you actually lose 1/2 a heart by making this recipe for energy wise. 2, it takes a very long time. It takes 2 hours of cook time just to get 1 stew. And that, if you need to make like a stack of them so that you have a bunch of heat protection, that can add up very quickly. Even just making 4 of them, you're that burner all day. So stew, not very useful. However, if we go down to the minestrone, we still have that flame 1 hour protection. It's only 1 celery, 1 onion, and 2 tomato, so the energy is not wasted. Every bit of those half hearts are going to be included in this recipe. But the even better thing about using minestrone instead of stew is it only takes 30 minutes. So, not that we can make any of these right now, since the only thing that we have ingredients for is baguettes. And the baguettes, we don't want to use, even if it wasn't so useful as a request item to unlock your reputation for a town, the baguettes are also useless to make. Because if you were to take the 2 wheat that you would create a baguette with and eat them raw, you're at the same 1 heart level, but you're also having to waste 30 minutes of in-game time to make the baguette. So the only reason we're making the baguettes really is for the requests, and we'll go ahead and make one today just so that you can see it, but I wanted to show you a few things. So up at the top, when I was showing you this chilling effect list of recipes, you can also filter by heat effect, and we've got these 2 here. This icon is an awake effect. So if you ever stay up too late and don't make it to bed in time, say you go to bed at like 4 a.m., 3:30, 4 a.m. or something like that, you will wake up and have like a tired icon with Z's coming out of you. You'll be hunched over. It will take a lot more stamina for you to do just your regular things. So eating something like this can alleviate your tiredness for a short period of time once we get recipes for that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose 2 wheat out of my storage, and you can see now the baguette is lit up. If I arrow over it, it tells me just making 1 is going to take 30 minutes, so we'll start that, but it's actually going to continue until we go to bed, just because time doesn't change in this one. But we've already put everything away, we've already done our shipping. It won't let us leave at this point even though it's 5, so we'll just go ahead and call it good for the night. And I'm doing an off save just in case I have to restart the day for some reason, if I mess something up or if I need to restart the walkthrough. And that's going to be a good thing for you to do. Once we unlock time, we can actually save it. Now, if you see the star increase we got, we are almost full of 1 star, and we are not even out of the tutorial yet. So, Lechtenbury, if you're careful during the tutorial time, you can get your first star basically before you even get your barn. Now, the dock pad we're going to go over in depth because it is one of the most useful tools in the game, and it's one thing that makes the open world aspect of this game more something that we can handle a little more. Without it, this game would be very ridiculously hard, to the point that it probably wouldn't be one of my new favorites. So since I play the Switch, it's going to say to press the minus button to open the dock pad. It will tell you what button you need to press on whatever console you're on, or computer, because you can play it on the PC. I have not used much of the photos in this. I probably should put together maybe an Instagram specifically for this game, so that I can reference certain things and places and maps. So here's what the dock pad is supposed to look like. We'll go ahead and pull it out here. We now can see our map has been opened up just for this beginner area. If we hover over one of these people, it tells us who we're looking at. We can zoom in so that we can see the type of shops that are there and where they're located and whose homes. But it doesn't highlight the ones that either are not useful or are not opened yet. So like this one that's the burnt down one doesn't show anything, but we've got our farm here. Now, this is where we've got our fishing area, and this is the area that we're going to avoid at all costs this morning as we finish out the rest of our day. Let me show you a couple of things that you can do with the map. Now, you can use the ZL and ZR buttons to zoom in and out. You can use the Y button on the Switch. I believe it is the triangle button. Don't quote me on that on the PlayStation. But any seeds that you have come in contact with previously, you can now search for. So if we want to find wisps that give us cabbage, celery, or turnip seeds, we put them here in our item search just by clicking A on each item, and they will pop up real time. Now with the dock switch, say we need to find these celery seeds, we can press A on the celery seeds. And let me just show you what that looks in real life. And we will pick up the baguettes, but they're not necessary right now, since we're just going to throw them in storage. That green pillar that you saw just before we started our conversation with Bear, that is now the location of the celery seeds, so that we can go and pick those up. It is useful if you're trying to navigate a new area that you haven't opened up the map for, so that you can figure out how to get to an area. But you can see it's bright, it's blinding, it goes all the way up to the sky, so it is something that you can easily locate. We don't necessarily need to track it, but it does move if the little wisp that's holding the seeds decides to walk around. It will move with it. You can also track a person. We could track Neil. We could track a building. Anything on here that has a label on it, we can track. You can see that it also shows us all of the seed locations outside of our little area that the map is opened up. Now, we don't really need any of these seeds. We're going to need flower seeds. We're going to stop tracking those, but let me just show you some of the other things that we can track. Any of these foraged items, flowers, mushrooms, clams, bamboo shoots, we can track all of them. Now, none of them are going to show up except the mushrooms, because they have respawned. And that's an easy way to tell really quickly if you need to swing by somewhere to pick up something. Alright, so the next one is going to be fish, which I can't really show you a good example of because we don't have a fishing pole yet for me to show you how the fish tracking works, but it basically just shows you areas where you can locate that particular fish at the moment if you've come in contact with the fish before. So say you're trying to fill out your get the achievement for the fishing and somebody hands you a fish but you need to catch it for the achievement, you can hit the Y, go over to the fish, select the fish, and it will show you real time where the fish is located in any bodies of water. This will be for any tameable wild animals. I find it funny that the icon is a chicken because there are no wild chickens and there are no wild cows. There are wild sheep, but that is the only type of animal that you can tame rather than purchase if you need daily, or for the chickens it's daily, for the cows it's every other day, etc. for things that you can ship that are animal related. Now we're going to use the L and the R buttons to navigate along the top. So this is the requests. We've had this icon before, except there's a few more things of note. Now that we've opened up that we can take requests from villagers, the ones that progress storylines will have that blue star in the corner. The one that has an exclamation point is the one that you are currently tracking, so that you can get on the map the exclamation point showing you where you need to go. So that tells us this is where we need to go to progress that request, or turn in a request, or what have you, depending on what the request is. Here's our calendar. We can now see that Judy's birthday is on the 14th. My birthday is on the 22nd. As the story progresses, we'll have sale days at stores, we will have festivals. If we can switch to other seasons to see, here's Neil's birthday on the 24th of fall. And that is basically it for the calendar, but the friends icon is useful because you can see each person. If they have a birthday, it will tell you what the birthday is. But what's useful is their likes. So for Doc Jr., if we wanted to increase the relationship with him, we could have him process an iron and then just give it to him as a gift. For Neil, there's the flower next to his name. That means that he is a romanceable character. He likes lettuce. Judy likes tulips, and she is a romanceable character, so she also has a little flower next to her name. And then, like I said, Ver loves turnips. Now, I think that the sprites do have only one like in there. They don't have additional ones, if I remember right. It's just that one thing. This is your encyclopedia. This is going to be how you can tell how many times you've harvested an item. So let's take a look at the turnip here. You can see you get a half a heart for every turnip you grow. The icons next to so ability newbie just means that we aren't advanced at growing crops for this particular crop. Once we have harvested it 250 times, we will be able to purchase it from the store that sells them without a limit. When they first show up in the stores, there is a low limit. So as we continue to harvest them, that limit will increase to not having any limit at 250 times harvested. Now the icons next to the turnip tell us what seasons it grows in. So the flower spring, the maple leaf is fall. The regular leaf, I believe, just means flatland, so like the breezy plains or in Providence area when we get there. It can grow without problems. Now the idea is you can grow them anywhere. It's just, say we plant it in summer or winter just to try to get a mutation. That just means we need to make sure we put fertilizer on it, just regular old fertilizer, so that it can grow normally and possibly mutate into whatever you're trying to get. They can wilt if you try to grow them outside of that time. They will also wilt if you do not harvest them while they're available. There is a trick on farming where you can get giant crops, but you do need to have an increased ability from newbie. So we're not going to worry about that for a while. I think that's the only one that's going to show up in here. Oh, we did touch the wheat, but you can see we've never harvested wheat, so that's a 0 amount. The mutations will show up underneath each crop so that you know what mutates from what. So we do have only the one flower that grows wild that we've harvested. So you can see it's a pink rose. We could, if we could purchase seeds for it, which are not available yet, but will be available eventually, we could grow them in springtime or in other seasons to get mutations. It looks like there's one mutation. And then here is the information for the forageable items. They'll all show up in here aside from the flowers. And it just tells us time harvested. We can see basic information, but they're all pretty much the same. We haven't cooked anything, but, well, I guess we could open up the baguettes and then I could show you what that looks like on here. Since we have cooked the baguettes, we just never took them off the stove now that they're done. You don't have to worry about them burning, they just stay there. And we're going to save them because we're going to need them for a request. So let's head back over to our... Now we have that indicator that there is a new item in here, and it's the only item in here because we haven't done any other cooking. Let's take a look at it. So there it just shows number of times cooked. You will get food as a reward. So if you do not see the icon in here saying number of times cooked 1, you won't get the achievement for it. So it's a good way to track for that achievement. Here's where we would get a list of fish if we had any. The mainly caught will look like the mainly found that you can see on this icon. Now, iron and bronze ore, even though it says mainly found in Lechtenbury Mine, it will be available in many other mines because it's a very common ore. But this will be useful if you say you got one random ore somewhere, but you need to get a bunch for a request. You can go into your encyclopedia, highlight the ore or gem that you need, and it will tell you where it's mainly found. And this will be any animals that you've come in contact with if you want to see, you know, where you can find their main habitats. You can hunt them down to pet them or whatever. All of your animals you put in your barn will show up in there too. I don't really take a lot of photos. I probably should. This is just your basic information for the game. Because I'm talking through all of the different aspects of it, we are way higher on the playtime than you will be on your own walkthrough or playthrough. Here's where we're at on the gathered items. You can see very quickly and very easily we have over 1,000 wood. Even after selling the 99 stone, we still have 525. So we have plenty of a buffer starting here. That helps us a great deal once we start everything up. This will be for any awards we win, for any of the festivals that we unlock, and each one of these you have to unlock in different ways. This is your achievements that we've been discussing. There's only the one that we got, which is basically we've grown a crop. Hooray, first crop. So there's 28 total. I'm not going to get too deep into them this early in the beginning because you can look at them, but it's not going to necessarily help increase anything. Here's the additional achievements, but these ones are mostly like things that you do in the game that are related to gameplay. These are additional things that are not necessarily needed for the main gameplay. So since I have the DLC, it shows that I have achievements for helping Vern Village because I have the DLC. This whole additional achievements part probably will not show up if you do not have the DLC. So it does look like we have some more turnips today. So we'll go ahead and harvest those. The extra plots of land will be useful as we convert this into a flower garden. And I like to leave it tilled because today we are going to be gathering every seed in this beginner area before we trigger the passage of time and the use of stamina. The more that we do in here before we leave, the less that we're going to have to do when we leave that will cost us stamina at that time. So here we're going to see what we've shipped. That's our 99 stone. We've got now almost 200 gold. That's not too bad for our first shipment, and considering that it got us almost to a full star, by the time we ship tonight, we will probably have our first star here. If we remember to talk to everybody, progress the storyline. Now I'm going to sell another stack of stone today, but don't worry, before we leave the town, we will get more than that in stone just through breaking up all of the stone that we have populated back again. You can see our little statue has that little dewdrop lit up, which becomes something important later on. That means it's activated. We're getting close to where that will matter. Now, one reason why we want to break all these stones again is because now breaking these stones, aside from just having the free stone that we can ship, which I should probably get rid of that. Yeah, so we've got the ship that I've already put in, or the shipping that I've already put in there from this morning. So not only are we getting this free stone that doesn't cost us any time or any energy, we also have the additional benefit of occasionally breaking up rocks or cutting down trees. We'll have one of these wisps jump out of it. So here's our first onion seed. One thing we're going to need to be very careful of is our seed bag. While 10 slots seems like a lot of different varieties, we will have to be returning back to our house over and over again just to make sure that we maintain a space for all of the seed varieties that we're going to be collecting. There's our first wheat seeds, so we can start growing our own wheat. There are going to be some purple or blue, I guess maybe they're blue, rare wisps, and they are shy. So if we try to sneak up on them right now, we're not going to do so hot because we cannot sneak. We won't learn to sneak until we leave the village, so it's okay if they run off. They'll be back the next day. And none of them have the seeds that we necessarily need a great deal because it's all produce seeds at this point. So I'll show you there. You can possibly approach them. It's not easy, and we'll see if I get lucky enough that I can actually approach one without chasing it off. Maybe I can. So see how we have this blue guy right here. He's nervous because he sees me. I'm just very lightly going to touch my walking pad. So my left so lightly that we're barely moving until we can talk to him. And that's the only way that we can get seeds from these rare guys until the time starts. But since once we start the time, we are going to probably not come back to the town for a little while, I might as well try it because by the time we come back, we may not be able to get seeds. it'll be too late, and then we'll be on the nighttime seeds and they might disappear. So daytime seeds and nighttime seeds are a thing. Watch your maps, because if you're looking for certain seeds that you've never seen, it could just be because you can only get them at night. So you might have to check your map again after 7 p.m. And we're going to take the time to break the stones that we find as we're searching for the wisps. So we've got several different types of carrot or of seeds, and the carrots is a new one. And you can see we've got just a ton because the rare wisp gave us several of them. They will, oh, there's one that hopped out of a rock that we broke, and daisy seeds are ones that we absolutely need right now. So that's one of the ones that we need to plant immediately. We need at least 6 of them. So we're going to turn on our map, do a search. Since we've got a daisy seed, we can now search for them. We can see there's some over here and some up here. Now, before we leave this area, once we get all of our daisy seeds, we will go ahead and plant them, since that will be one of the important things that we need to do in order to unlock Lectenberry. And since we're back on the farm, we might as well put everything away. Now, sometimes I would hit a shop just to put inventory away. However, none of the shops are going to be open right now. We will be unable to speak to anyone before we trigger leaving the town for right now. So I'm not bothering sticking around town aside from hunting down all of the seed bags that we're trying to gather. Now I'll probably miss one or two, mostly by accident, but this should give you a general idea, and then once you've touched enough of the different types of seeds, you can just check on your map to see if there are any seeds, and we'll do that before we leave to make sure that I've got most everything. So strawberry pansy seeds are going to be another important one for today. That's one of them that we're going to need 10 for. However, the strawberry pansy seeds are a lot easier to find than probably any of the others that require 10. We'll go ahead and plant them, but I don't sweat finding them quite as often. But here, we'll add them to our list anyway. So any strawberry pansy seeds, you can see they even show up in areas we've never been. There's that golden wisp over there we cannot reach. It kind of is one of those situations where you'd really like to, but you have to wait until summer when the water goes down and you can walk across to that little island. So just remember, once it's summertime, to head back here and cross over into that area. There is another blue rare guy back there, or maybe he's purple, I can't tell. The light is early morning light in here, so maybe they're really blue, but it just looks purple to me. I don't know. You guys could comment below what you think, if they're blue or purple. Maybe I'll just call them rare. So we're walking up as slowly as possible. And they still sometimes run anyway. But we got our cabbage seeds. It is easier with the slow walk if you are not on a hill. So if you see one that's at the bottom of the hill, maybe go around until you get to the flat area and approach it from a flat way. Because there's going to be one down by the beach over here. And it's really hard for me to approach him from this hill, so I prefer to get down here and then approach him slowly. And it's up to you whether you want to put this kind of effort into it, because they will come back the next day if you scare them off, and being able to sneak is so much easier than this. But we did get our first set of tomato seeds, got 3 of them. Tomatoes are a regrowable crop, so if you grow them the one time, they will produce more than one crop for each seed that you plant and grow. I think it's either 2 or 3 that you get. Which, when we open up our produce farm, we will probably put some tomatoes in it. And spinach. Tomatoes and spinach generally tend to be highly requested items from this area in Lechtonbury. It's nice that even these golden ones that are bright and shiny, they don't run. And this harvest wisp fruit is useful to collect. They are going to be how we increase our stamina or increase our storage. And what I mean by storage, I do not mean the stuff at the house that we have to build ourselves once we upgrade our home, but I am talking about our backpack storage. Now, for every 3, let's head over there. So for every 3 of these harvest wisp fruit, we can pass them in to the harvest goddess once we've unlocked her for 3 additional panels of space. So instead of 10, we'd have 13. Now, it will not do the food bag, the seed bag, and the materials bag. It only does 1. So for every 3, you can increase 1 type of bag 3 spots. For every 3, you can increase your stamina by 1 heart. So depending on what your needs are early game, if you're like me, you'll probably increase your stamina and then maybe increase your seed bag or your materials bag, depending on if you fish a lot. Because if you're fishing a lot, you may want to increase your food bag, because that's where the fish will go. And everybody will have their own preferences on what the priority is for the list there. Now, I am taking the time to break all of these annoying stone, because we may get a seed pop out of it. We may get nothing aside from the stone, but the stone itself is useful, especially when we need quick and easy things to ship to increase our reputation. And we need all of our food items that we can gather in order to get farther down in the mine when we're this new to the game and haven't unlocked any stamina, haven't unlocked many of the aspects of the game. So when we get to the open world portion of the game, it may seem overwhelming. And part of it is that the place is just so big. We can walk around like this as much as we want, but once we can start dashing, it's really hard just to walk. And because of the progression of the days is so quick, we may feel like we never can finish exploring. That is one reason why we're going to make it a priority to get a horse very first, so that we can ride the horse, which takes no stamina. It is faster than even your sprint speed, but it doesn't take your stamina to run around. Since it's so fast too, there's a lot of options for being able to get from one place to another place or unlock maps for areas much faster than by foot. So that's why when we have a barn, we're going to put a priority on taming a horse. But I think that I will, when in the next walkthrough, show you where the closest horse is, so we can start increasing our relationship with that horse, so that when we have a barn, it will follow us back to the barn, and that's how you can catch a free horse. You can purchase a horse, but they are expensive, especially this early in the game when you are just starting out. You also have to save up your money in case you need animal feed, in case you run out of things like fodder corn or grass seed that grows into regular grass or weeds. You can use any of them to process into animal feed in the barn. Weeds are the hardest to... They're the easiest to find, the hardest to maintain a barn on, because even though, like, this is the grass that we would be going in and chopping with a scythe, just cutting it down to make weeds in order to feed our animals, it takes 20 to make one feed for one animal. And that, when you're using your scythe, every single time you use the scythe is one grass at the beginning until you can upgrade your scythe. So that is a very long time coming. And the very first upgrade, all you're going to do is one swing will be 3 weeds. So it's not incredibly useful, but it is better than having starving animals, even if you're spending all day cutting grass until, say, your fodder corn or your grass seed grows in. Grass will, coming from the grass seed that you can purchase from even the grocery store right now, the regular general store has seed for grass. We could grow it right this very moment, but each grass is only worth 1 feed. So it is far more lucrative to gather fodder corn seeds and grow fodder corn, because much like the tomatoes, the fodder corn, you plant it one time and you get 2 to 3 corn. And each corn makes 3 meals for the animals. So out of 1 fodder corn stalk, you can feed almost a week's worth for 1 animal. And there, see, you can even get rare guys popping out of the rocks so that you can get large amounts of seeds. Let's take a look at our seeds just to make sure we're not getting too full. Yep, we're getting too full. So let's finish up with these rocks. We'll head back in town to go drop them off with our seeds. I think I saw, did we get... Yes, so the other one that we need 6 of, which are the priority, the tulip seeds and the daisy seeds are the ones that are the highest priority. We need 6 of each of them. Right now we have 1 daisy seed planted. I will plant these other 4 around it and leave 1 spot open for the last daisy seed that we need. If we're lucky, we'll be able to get 1 more daisy seed at least and get all 6 of them on the same growth rotation so that they will all pop up at the same time. That will save a lot of work later on when we're trying to get the town restored. Now, here in the starter area, big rocks like this just mean a lot of stamina loss and stone. Sometimes they pop out a produce or some kind of seeds, but you will not have those golden wisp show up to just breaking rocks in this beginner area or cutting trees. However, in the overworld, once we get outside where everything else is, once we're out of this training area, if you see a large rock in a suspicious area that's all by itself, like on the top of a mountain that you had to climb, or on a plateau that was really long, you had to travel far to catch it, then it's likely it will hold a golden wisp in there for you to get another fruit. Now, if you wanted to, you could sell all of your rock at once, but it's better if you spread it out over several days just to help increase that bump. Now, oh good. So when we get ready to leave the area, we will probably take a little, well, maybe not this time, but generally when we're out walking around in the outside world from this area, especially before we get a horse, we're going to take some stamina food with us so that we can run. Running is so much faster. It will drive you nuts to just normal walk, but you have to do it because it takes stamina. Alright, so we've got 5 of the 6 daisies right here. Let's plant our tulips, and we also need to add them to our list of things that we are searching for. Now, as you can see, we have no more of these flowers in here. We will have to leave to get some more tulips and daisies. But as you can see, it's right outside the front, so we'll be able to get our daisies all today. Tulips, we will probably get enough to plant them all today. But once we get enough seeds for them, once we have all of the seeds we need, we can just turn it off. Alright, let's plant our 2 strawberry pansy seeds, and we'll just do that over here because they won't be able to be on the same growth pattern as the rest of them since we just need so very many of them. I think we could just go straight down this way since we have already cleared out most of the seeds. The grass can sometimes hide wisps, but if you're careful, you can usually see their little pom-pom on their hat above it, just floating around. If you aren't tracking the current seed that they're holding. There is another very important seed that is over in this corner. It is the only one in the starter area for this type, and then there is a third type that we need that doesn't spawn in here at all. So here's the marguerites. That is going to be one that we need to plant today, but it is the second in the list of 10 that we're going to need for the second part of the quest to unlock the town. And one reason we want to unlock the town is because it unlocks a lot of the shops, but it'll also drop the wall, this big wall, which doesn't mean anything right now, but it means a lot more in the towns we're going to come upon later, because the other towns have a lot of walls, and the sprites are not always in all the parts of the walls, but it blocks off important things that you will need access to at some point. So now that we've basically cleared out this whole entire area, one way we can make sure we haven't missed anything is we'll just do a search for every single seed. And, oh, see, we missed that cabbage seed, and we missed this turnip seed. So, since we're close to the turnip seed, it's one of the ones that are hiding in the grass. I'm glad I didn't go up that way, because it probably would have triggered the cutscene. Neither of these are important enough for us to worry about, but for the sake of the walkthrough, we will be thorough. And we need to kind of avoid that opening, because if you get anywhere close to it, it's going to trigger the cutscene that turns on the time and the stamina use. Now, one thing that you'll notice is right here, your save and your load are grayed out during the tutorial. Once we leave that town, we will be able to save, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to leave the town. That will be the end of this walkthrough, but before the main part of the game, which will include considerations for the stamina and the time, that will be in our next part of the walkthrough. But since I'll now be able to save in the middle of the day, I don't have to end it at the end of the day for each time we do a walkthrough. I can split it up for what makes sense. And like in this situation, the end of today doesn't make sense since there's so much content, and to try to keep it around an hour for the technical limitations of using YouTube as a medium, we want to try to keep it around an hour. Alright, so I think we've got all of our rocks. We've got plenty more rocks. Let's take a look. Yep, more than the ones that we've shipped thus far. We even have one for tomorrow. And you don't have to ship rocks. If you want to ship other things that you're not using, feel free. This is just what I'm doing because we have a ton of it. We don't necessarily need a bunch of money right now at the very, very beginning of the game until we're ready to start processing. Oh, we're going to plant those. Alright, so let's make sure we still have, we're going to turn off all of the produce. So now we're only looking for strawberry pansies, tulip seeds, daisy seeds, and marguerite seeds. Once we find enough of the ones that we can start or finish our required amounts, we'll turn those off on the search as well. But since there's going to be no way that I can do like 10 strawberry pansies close together, what I'll probably do is I'll put my marguerites over here where they're out of the way of the 6 of the other items. But we can keep them together so they're on the same growth cycle. Tomorrow these will grow out, and we will have more room where we can do maybe the strawberry pansies up this way and down that way. And then the middle ones will end up being for the ones we haven't seen yet, and then these will be for the marguerites. But those come after we get our daisies and our tulips. Technically, I'd like to get 7 tulips because it is a favorite item for Judy, whose birthday is coming up. You don't have to give them a present on their birthday. Usually just speaking to them on their birthday triggers the birthday well wishes. But I do it anyway. I guess I'm extra. Alright. Now, we have absolutely nothing in our pockets because as we wander, it's going to get pretty full pretty quick. We can't talk to anybody. All the doors are locked. Everyone is in a resting phase right now, so all we did was we harvested every seed we could find and broke every rock. And now we're going to trigger the real game. So he is going to give us some baguettes. We are not going to eat them. Like I mentioned before, they are useful when trying to unlock pretty much all of the villages need at least some baguettes at some point in order to unlock all of their reputation stars. Here's a breakdown of the different shops, which is funny because you have to use them in the tutorial. But now, once we find more towns, there will be more shops. Now, don't get too distracted from your main mission. A lot of the questions that I've come across tend to be, how do I do this? How do I get this? Why is this unavailable? 90% of the answer is you need to progress the main storyline. And that just means that there's going to be, in the game, the natural progression of it. It's going to have a lot of things that are like, we need this specific item to finish this request. Well, the problem is you don't have the recipe for that item, for example. So you might have to increase the stars on a particular town to get a recipe to be able to provide that request, and it might be before you're able to unlock the town's progression enough because you have to get farther on your main storyline. So just be aware, if you ever come across an area that it seems like, oh, my game is broke, I can't get past this part, it probably means that you need to finish up doing some of the main storyline quests before you come back to that particular request. Now we can finally dash and we can sneak, and that's how we tame things. So, first thing, we're going to ignore every rock now. Every rock is getting ignored. Now, the one we want is that wisp right there, but I just want to come back here and get this wisp. It is our first strawberry seed. Strawberries are a multiple growth item. They grow in springtime, and I like to grow them to give as gifts or to use when taming animals. And there's our tulip seeds. So I'm picking up all of the foraging items, but now I can actually press and hold my R2 to run faster. But as you see, as I run faster, my stamina is going to decrease. Sorry, that was a little fast. The apples are going to be some of our favorite items to use when going mining, because the apples are plentiful and easy to find. So we cannot get down off of this area without passing that one apple tree. And there's our tulips. And I think we now have enough tulips to finish our tulips. So once we get one more daisy, those are tulips. Oh, daisies are right ahead. So once we get the daisies from this little guy right here, we now have enough daisies and tulips to finish off our needs for that first request. This, you can see, is tillable land. This will probably become our produce farm once we have enough fencing to fence it in. But before we do anything, this little guy is one of the most important ones you're going to get. So let me just swing around. We came down from that walkway. There's another harvest goddess thing there. There's the plot of land up here. This mountain has one little ledge off of it with this little guy right here. And that is our first fodder corn seeds. We may, in the produce area, choose to just grow at least one seed of fodder corn every day. At least have one in there. Make sure that there's always one in there every day. And that way we build up a little bit of fodder corn so that when we open up our barn, we will be able to feed our animals. Now, one more reason why we are heading south from that statue, we're keeping an eye open for a specific animal. The seeds are less important, but what we need is a specific animal that is very useful. And I always have a rough time remembering where he is the first time. So the fox, you can pet him, and I'll show you what happens when you pet a wild animal. There is a specific one that we are looking for, though. And grabbing those apples got us some spinach seeds too, so I'm not going to complain for that. Once we can fish, this area right here has some very large fish in it. You can see there's a jumbo fish in there. And that is very useful as food for the mines because it's going to give us multiple hearts. Alright, so now that we've pet that fox, we can now search for the fox in here. So if we do a search for the fox, he will pop up here, and anywhere that the fox is located will show up on our map. See, there he is right there. Now, we're not going to tame the fox, so we will let him go. And I believe we have enough daisy seeds and tulip seeds in our inventory. 2 daisy seeds, and we only needed 1. 4 tulip seeds, and we needed 4. So we can stop tracking those. Now I just want to double check. There should be an animal down here that is going to make exploring much easier, but I am probably getting distracted from all of my apple picking. Now over there is going to be some cherries. That's going to be one of the things that gets highly... So here's some bunnies. They are also not what we're here for, but we can just pet one for the sake of getting them on our search list. It's a hare. Where is he? I think I'm too far to one side. But here's the cherries. These are also highly sought after. Don't worry about wasting too much time here in the beginning area, because it's going to shut down our day once we are out of there.